What's going on, FA Nation? Jon Impemba here with James Grande, bringing you the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS live stream, MLB Opening Day edition, James. MLB Opening Day edition.
Shout out MLB Opening Day.
DFS live stream. It's MLB Opening Day. I don't know if anybody's aware. MLB Opening Day today. But we still have basketball to get to, despite it being MLB Opening Day today. Just in case you guys weren't sure baseball is happening. But basketball is also still going on, James. You were on the live playbook today. Now you're on the live stream to break down the playbook that you did. And it is wild out there. Like, news aplenty coming down for the NBA slate tonight. All of the essential Pelicans have been ruled out for the most part. We have Brandon Ingram is questionable, but Zion has been ruled out. Lonzo Ball has been ruled out. We are also waiting on news of Bradley Beal, who's a game-time decision. James Harden has already been ruled out. We just got word Michael Carter-Williams ruled out for tonight as well. Bonus to RJ Hampton maybe starting at point guard tonight. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to get to. How are you feeling about everything?
Brandon Ingram, doubtful, by the way. He's questionable. He's doubtful. So even worse. I mean, yeah, even worse. Also, just another lineup note, I think good transition here. Jerome Robinson will remain in the starting lineup if Bradley Beal is ruled out. That is the same note we got the other day, John, and Bradley Beal was then ruled out. So definitely something to monitor here on opening day, because it's all the same. We're going to use the same Washington guys we used the last two slates if
Rui Hachimura all day.
Oh, yeah. Robinson, Hutchinson, Wizards of plenty here, especially against the Pistons on a back-to-back. But
Pistons on a back-to-back. No Hamidou Diallo for Detroit tonight as well. Dennis Smith Jr. is questionable to play. I think Wayne Ellington is questionable to play tonight. Magruder, I think, already out.
Yep, Magruder already out. Yep.
We'll see what happens with that guard situation. But Corey Joseph's looked great since coming over there, and Saban Lee obviously started and has looked good as well. So, guys, I know that are in your playbook. So why don't we just get into the playbook here? Russell Westbrook. Question is, we know you play him if Bradley Beal is out. He is the play of the day if Bradley Beal sits. However, how do you compare Westbrook to the other top spend-ups and notably other guards here on this slate tonight? John Collins is out. We didn't even talk about him. Right. Kyrie with no Harden, Young with no Collins, both elite usage rates. Where does Westbrook stack up in that group with you if Beal is in?
I don't think it really does much. Like, obviously, he is the clear-cut number one play without Beal. But it doesn't really impact my thoughts on, much. I think Westbrook is still arguably the top play. He averages 1.4 fantasy points a minute, or 1.4 fantasy points per minute with Bradley Beal on the floor, John. It's still elite as it gets. And I said it in the playbook. I simplified it. If Beal sits, don't even think about fading Russell Westbrook. If he plays, don't fade Russell Westbrook. It's just he's been so good. He's a triple-double machine. I get the price tag is up there, but I'm going to load up on Westbrook whether he plays or whether he doesn't. And I think the thing is, people think that, Bradley Beal's back, we can't play Russ. Well, then we'll start getting him at lower ownership than he should be. So we can take advantage of that. I do agree. The top of the point guard position is elite. It's loaded. Kyrie, Trae Young, they're both in tremendous spots. They're both obviously, playing without their stars next to them. But if Beal's out, it's all Westbrook all the time. I would rank them Westbrook, Irving, Trae, but I think they're all elite. It's hard not to like Trae against the Spurs on a back-to-back.
Yeah, listen, the Spurs, we love attacking with the point guard position anyways, and then, like you mentioned, now you're getting them in a great matchup for Trae Young with no John Collins, where his usage rate, James, you said is what, north of 30%?
Yeah, 38% without John Collins this year.
Yeah, that's a pretty elite number there, obviously. And then you're looking at a Kyrie Irving with no Durant and no James Harden on the floor this year. He himself, 35.6% usage rate, 1.65 fantasy points per minute with just those two guys off the floor. It's an elite top tier. I think we're getting some discounts even potentially on him as well at his price point because that news came out afterwards. So you're getting, what could have been probably an 11K Kyrie Irving at $10,000 over on FanDuel today. It's just going to be an interesting on a smaller slate how to go about and build some of these lineups for that. Mid-tier, you had Michael Carter-Williams. He's now been ruled out. Do you have faith in RJ Hampton, assuming he starts, or a Chasson Randall, or maybe they even go Terrence Ross starting? What's your situation now with the Orlando Magic backcourt?
I'm a little worried. I think Hampton probably gets the look, but I think him and Randall could possibly split. And Randall over 4K really doesn't appeal to me. I think if I were to take a shot, it would be Hampton. But I also think there's plenty of value on this slate to not have to go there, especially at this position. Reggie Jackson has been tremendous when we already know all the same guys are out. We know Rondo, Beverly, George. We know they're all out. So Reggie Jackson right back in play, and he's cheap across the industry. And then you mentioned it earlier, with Hamidou Diallo out, possibly DSJ again. I mean, Corey Joseph was brought in to play, and he has played really well, 23.5 or more DraftKings points in 3 straight games, including 29 or more in 2 straight games. I'm going right back to the well, and John, it's Washington, right? So
yeah,
we always attack Washington. We need exposure to Washington. Corey Joseph's really cheap, so I don't think we need to go the Hampton or Randall route, but if you want to, I understand.
We have 2, I think, options potentially over with New Orleans with Lonzo Ball out. Of course, Nickeil Alexander-Walker is going to be at the top of everybody's list.
Yep.
Price tag tonight is just bonkers. It's $5,800 and $6,100 on DraftKings and FanDuel. He's going to be super chalk, with that news that's coming out. But where do you sit with Kara Lewis Jr. tonight as a possible? He's already been getting run, and now he should be in for even more, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's been a fantasy point per minute monster lately. 3 of his last 4 games, he's put up more than 22 fantasy points, and that's only once topping 25 minutes. So he should be in for a lot of run. He's under 4K across the industry. So I love Kara Lewis tonight in tournaments. Probably not cash because, they still have a bevy of guys that I expect to play. NAW is going to play 30-plus. Bledsoe's going to play 30-plus. Josh Hart's going to play 30-plus minutes. So Kira Lewis should definitely see into the 20s in minutes, and that's really what you love to see because he's been putting up 20-plus fantasy points in 17, 18 minutes a game. So definitely have interest in Kira Lewis for sure.
Yeah, leave it to you have FanDuel, you have NAW and Josh Hart both as shooting guards.
And Bledsoe, right?
No, Bledsoe has actually moved to a point guard.
They moved Bledsoe to point guard. I have interest in Bledsoe. I think he's the forgotten guy here.
Bledsoe's 5,500 on FanDuel as a point guard tonight, going up again. We love the matchup against Orlando for guards.
Right.
So,
right.
Definitely could be. I mean, Bledsoe, the minutes-wise, have been to 35, 36, 34, 33 last 4 games. It's just there's other higher usage players, and NAW has come on the floor and been fantastic. So he hasn't had the opportunity. But right, if Ingram now goes out, we know Zion's not there. It could be definitely some increased opportunity for him. What other shooting guards are we taking a look at? I mean, obviously, no Paul George. Your guy, Terrence Mann. We've seen a resurgence from Luke Kennard lately. Do you have a favorite between the two? Obviously, there's a difference in price by almost $1,000 for Kennard and Mann over on FanDuel. It's $400 on DraftKings. Do you have a favorite if you're picking one?
I mean, probably Kennard for price point, but it's hard to dislike what Terrence Mann's doing on the basketball court because he's doing everything. I mean, he can score. He's a great rebounder. He's showing, and he's had six assists in 2 straight games. So hard to dislike him. I think you'll obviously get him at low ownership now that his price has risen over 5K. And Kennard's just 4,200 is stupid. Knowing that these guys were going to be out, we had this news yesterday that they were going to be out. So easy to go to Kennard. Definitely a pivot to go to Terrence Mann.
All right. If we're looking over at the small forward position, Kawhi Leonard with no Paul George. I know it's a tough matchup against Denver, but again, we're talking about no Paul George here, and he's under $10,000 over on FanDuel. Do you have any interest here?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't gotten a ceiling out of Kawhi, but look at the box score, 43, 48, 45, 48, 47. We're getting an extremely safe floor every time out, which is why I prefer him in cash tonight. Like, I do think you can get away with it in tournaments because we know he has the upside, especially playing without Paul George. I just, because of that, prefer him in cash. I would rather play Gordon Hayward in a tournament.
Yeah, still $70,000 on FanDuel.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And he went for 50 last time out with a really, kind of bad second half. He exploded in the first half, and he still got to 50 with a bad second half. And I love Danilo Gallinari for tournaments tonight. I think that's where a lot of my exposure is going to go. Last 2 times we've seen him play 30 minutes, John, he's gone for 35 or more fantasy points. So, very hard to ignore that type of output.
Could I potentially interest you in a Joe Harris pivot?
Yeah, absolutely. I have him in my playbook. We know there's no Harden. We know there's no Durant. Yes, LaMarcus Aldridge is active, but do we know how much he's going to play? I can't imagine much because there was an injury as well. It's not just sitting out. He's been hurt, so this is his first game back in action as well. So, I think Harris is the second option. And last night, I know Harden only missed a quarter and a half.
Right.
But Harris went for 28 actual and 39 DraftKings points.
And what do we love to do, James? We love attacking
Charlotte at the small forward.
Forward. So I agree with you. And I'm looking at that ownership. I mean, the draft forecaster here, under 2% over on DraftKings today for Joe Harris. 3-point bonus over there. That's an appealing play for me. On tonight's slate. Do you trust if we find out the news on Marcus Morris, if we find out he's out, where are you with Nick Batum? I mean, the rebounds the other day were crazy. Do you think this is something that he can repeat, or is it just more of a, if you're game stacking?
Look, he had a great, all these stats that he had pretty much all came in the first half. He just kind of disappeared in the second half. But I think we know he's better than that. And, he's not a guy who's going to score 20 points anymore. That's just not who he is. Right. But he's better than a 2-point scorer. He's averaging 8.5 on the year. He's going to start if Marcus Morris sits. I mean, and he played 34 minutes. And you know what? I fully expect Aaron Gordon to be guarding Kawhi Leonard, which means Nick Batum's going to get Michael Porter Jr. And we know Michael Porter Jr. didn't stay on the floor the whole bubble because he couldn't play a lick of defense. So, this could be one of those games where Nick Batum does give us double-figure scoring if Marcus Morris were to sit. And if Marcus Morris plays, I have interest there. I know I'm jumping the gun because he's a power forward, but I think it's worth noting.
We can go with power forward.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy that's price tag has been pretty disrespected for all season long.
All season. I mean, especially since he became the starter, which, by the way, it's been 2 weeks now, and he's only once given us less than 20 fantasy points, and FanDuel still is 3.7, 4.1, 3.7.
It's 4.5 tonight. If he's active, I mean, we've been riding him out. So I agree. I'm in full agreement with you there. I think it's a good spot for him. The top tier power forward, they're basically all out aside from Tobias Harris. Zion Williamson on FanDuel, Zion Williamson, John Collins, Larry Nance, all ruled out. That leaves us Tobias against Cleveland, which should be a really good matchup. I mean, how long does Kevin Love even stay on the floor for is a question. And I don't think he can defend anybody at this point in his career. He wasn't even a good defender in his younger days. So I think Toby should be in a really, really great spot tonight. And then Jeremy Grant, gave you a little how do you do against Portland, 49 fantasy points, showing us what he did earlier in the season. Are we able to rely on Jeremy Grant to maybe pick things back up here?
Yeah, man, it's Washington too. And I said this right in the playbook. We need to remind ourselves every time Washington's on the slate, just abuse them with people on the other side. And that's Jeremy Grant tonight. I mean, he's averaging 23 a game. He scored 30 last night. For whatever reason, he's $100 on DraftKings or FanDuel. That's crazy. And 72 on DraftKings is too cheap. We're paying $8K for this guy. Right. I think Jeremy Grant is in an absolute smash spot. I think he's my favorite power forward on the slate, not named Rui Hachimura if Bradley Beal sits.
I was going to say, if Brad Beal is ruled out.
Yeah, if Bradley Beal sits.
Look out. Rui has been phenomenal.
Yeah, lock and load. lock and load at that point.
Unbelievable. He's been absolutely unbelievable since he's been ruled out. Back-to-back games, over 25 actual points being scored there. Just really impressive production out of him. Shout out Tony on Twitter, bringing that to light. The Rui scoring machine when Bradley Beal is ruled out. So I'm with you. I think it's a great call for him. He's a small forward on FanDuel at 6K. I think that puts him well in play, obviously over there as well.
Right.
But power forward over on DraftKings 100%. Talk to me about your guy Chuma. I mean, Chuma's 6K over on FanDuel.
I mean, the only thing that we have to worry about, I think, when it comes to Chuma, John, is the fact that there are a lot of forwards here. Like, they added Otto Porter, not even just forwards. They added, Wendell Carter, which could move Kem Birch over to forward a little bit more. But the guy continues to score. He continues to shoot 11+ shots in the 3 games since the trade deadline. And he's scoring, man.
Since they activated him.
Yeah, since Chuma was activated, he's kind of gone off. And
you're like, he was their first round pick last year.
The only reason he slipped to the Magic was because of an injury. Like, right. The guy is super talented, very polished offensively, can shoot, can get to the rim for a big guy. So yeah, I mean, it's a nice spot against a bottom 3 defense in the NBA. So Chuma is definitely an interesting tournament play. I think I trust him enough in cash as well. So fire up some Chuma tonight in tournaments. And
with Nance out and Love starting, does that take you off undercover team reporter Dean Wade?
I think he's still in play because, like, who else is there, John? It's like Love.
Was it something Stevens, right?
10 minutes, yeah. Stevens,
yeah.
Love for, I can't imagine more than 10 minutes.
He played 8 last time and got hurt. So.
Right. Can't imagine more than 10 minutes.
Do we see a return of Seti here? What do you think?
Why? Because he got scratched? I mean, he didn't play a single minute last time out, so I'm not confident that he's going to return,
which is a criminal because I actually think he's a pretty good player.
I know they should have just got rid of him at this point. They did play Taurean Prince 18 minutes, but I think he probably gets axed with the return of Kevin Love. I think Dean Wade's okay. In the playbook, I did add, like, there is a little more risk, but I do think what does Cleveland have to lose by not playing Dean Wade? This game could also be a blowout, and Dean Wade plays 30 minutes regardless. So
right.
I think that there's a good chance Dean Wade plays a lot of minutes with or without Kevin Love in this lineup.
Where do you sit with Rudy Gay tonight? Because we saw that Spurs have basically ruled out most of their front court tonight. Do you think Gay can be productive?
I just don't like playing Spurs on back-to-backs. And he was really good last night. I guess, like, there is a chance, but they could just play, like, the younger Keldon Johnson and not, like, risk the glass case Rudy Gay that gets hurt seemingly every year. So, like, yeah, I agree. There is an interesting tournament,
he just produces. Like, he doesn't.
He does just produce.
Like 20 minutes, Rudy Gay, 22 to 23 fantasy points. Like, you could almost bet on that most nights. Like, he doesn't do it every night, but, like, he's pretty much in that range for most of the time he gets on the floor. He's averaging 22 fantasy points on the season. Just kind of throwing him out there as an option just because, they ruled out, Gorgie, they ruled out Trey Lyles, they ruled out a handful of guys there.
Yeah, I mean, he'll likely see Danilo Gallinari on the flip side of the court as well. So not the worst matchup. Just if you do play Rudy Gay, just prepare yourself for 20 minutes. Don't be let down when
he's not going to play 30.
Right.
So
don't be let down when he doesn't get more than that.
Right. Move over to center. Nikola Jokic is at the top here. He's 11K. Where does he rank for you on spend ups? Are you even looking at spend up at center tonight?
I'm generally, I think, looking at Clint Capella. I think that's where my eyes went to directly. I mean, I say it all the time. Under 8K, I like playing Clint Capella. Now the bonuses, there's no John Collins. So I like Jokic. I think he is one of the top spends of the slate. I mean, he's averaging 60 fantasy points on the year per game. The only problem is he hasn't looked great with Aaron Gordon in the lineup. And Aaron Gordon's another playmaker who can, is a pretty good passer to the point where DraftKings made him a point guard at one point this year. Just throwing that out there. But yeah, I mean, you can definitely spend on Jokic as more of a tournament play. It's like, I think there's certain people at certain tiers here. Clint Capella is one of them that I have a lot of interest in without John Collins, 1.27 fantasy points per minute. Vika Zubac, right, continues to plug, continues to play around 30 minutes, and is a double-double threat every night. We know there's no Serge Ibaka. And then Hartenstein, even with Kevin Love, he's 3,700, and this is who's likely going to start at center.
He's a 4K power forward on FanDuel.
I mean, either way, I mean, I guess that makes your center decision a little more challenging, I would say, on FanDuel.
How do you feel about Steven Adams?
I was going to say Steven Adams is definitely an option. And I don't think there's going to be this massive output of offense suddenly because he's just not that guy. But I do think there could be an increase. I do think we could see, throwback double-double, like 10 and 12 type of guy. And that's interesting.
I mean, he's drawing the Wendell Carter defense, which is a guy that we attacked for years, in Chicago. I don't know, just throwing out there again, no Zion, Have we had a game? Did Zion miss the game earlier this season, right, dude? Was that during our Hernan Goat run, or?
I think it was during the Hernan Goat run. I don't know particularly.
I'm going to try to pull it up right now. Let's see. It was against Miami that he didn't play, and we got Steven Adams played 25 minutes in that one. He had 9-1 and an assist. It's actually Jackson Hayes who got 20 minutes also. So we didn't get any sort of extended run out of there. We did get 41 minutes of Josh Hart that game, though, who, probably going to for sure be in the starting lineup tonight with Zion ruled out. So keep that in mind. 41 minutes out of Josh Hart the last time Zion sat out. So something worth.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Nope, they never came off the floor. James Wiseman, thoughts on there? He's been playing a bunch of minutes.
He's fine. It hasn't been he hasn't been putting it all together. Like, we finally get the 4 blocks. We're like, yes, double-digit scoring, 5 rebounds. I want more, James Wiseman. I know it's in there. Like, you're super talented. I don't know if this is spot 5,200. I'd rather go up for Adams for 100, especially on DK, or go down to Isaiah Stewart, who played a whole bunch of minutes the other day against Toronto.
Stewart's again still a power forward on FanDuel, but 4,200 for Stewart.
Shame. John, I will throw one guy out there. Rolo, who didn't make the playbook tonight, but played 30 minutes or 27 minutes, and this is, Daniel Gafford was brought on and gets hurt. Rolo played 27 minutes, had a 16 and 11, went for 31 fantasy points, 3,800. Detroit is very exploitable at the center position. So,
all right, would you play Plumlee on the flip side of that or no?
In a tournament, Plumlee has a lot of upside when
his minutes are so weird. Like, he plays 30, then he doesn't play at all. Like
tournaments, it's a strictly a tournament play.
All right. Well, it is 6:00 here, James. We have slate starts at 7:00 tonight. Let's see, any news come out? We have Shamet not expected to have a minutes limit. If you were interested in Landry Shamet, you might be. No James Harden. He could find his way maybe even into the starting lineup tonight. It's possible. I don't have much love for that, but certainly a guy to pay attention to. We're still waiting on the Bradley Beal news, Brandon Ingram news. Things will come down as we hit into roster lock. Playbook is out. I assume core plays will be out shortly. If you have any questions, you know where to hit us. We'll be in chat on Twitter. For now, we will catch you guys later.